4 chapters. Only 4 chapters are left until chapter 1000 of the story of One Piece. Absolute madness. And yes, I did put up a dramatic side camera for no good reason. You're welcome. Now, today's chapter was so packed with action and jumping from location to location that it's really hard to pick any moment in particular that stood out here, but pretty much all of them were stuffed with hype. If I had to give it a theme, I would say that after last week's emotional roller coaster with chapter 996, Oda is already beginning to set up whatever is going to happen in chapters 999 and 1000. As always, we'll of course discuss everything in detail, but to spoil 2 things in particular that I absolutely loved in this chapter, it's the hint at Yamato's transformation, of course, as well as the quite surprising appearance of Corazon, one of my all-time favorite characters in the story. Also, great news, there will be no break next week, and so it looks like we might make it to chapter 1000 around New Year. What a perfect way to start into a hopefully more peaceful 2021. As always, grab yourself a nice cup of coffee or your favorite hot or cold beverage of choice, and let's jump right into this chapter. Oh yeah, and if you haven't done so already, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. It's free and you can say that you were here before we hit 100k. We pick up the story right where we left off last week, with Tama and Komachio having rescued the brave Nami and Usopp from certain death by the hands of Ulti and Page One, and are now running away on the back of the big dog. After the gruesome scene in the last chapter where Usopp got his skull smashed in by Ulti's headbutt, it seems that luckily he's still alive. However, he seems to be in quite a serious condition and is only able to talk gibberish. Nami, who is clearly concerned about Usopp's state, asks Tama the question we've been asking ourselves as well. How the hell did she manage to get to Onigashima in the first place? Tama simply states that they rode on one of the enemy's ships, but doesn't really go into detail here. And so I personally have 3 ideas on the top of my head. Tama using her powers on some gifters and then having them bring her, Tama sneaking into one of the boats, however that would be a little bit difficult with a giant ape and a giant dog, and finally, my personal favorite, Tama encountering the remaining Big Mom pirates and convincing them to bring her along. I really hope we get an explanation for this at some point. And speaking of the giant ape, as the Flying Six are about to catch up, it suddenly blocks their way, and Tama asks him to buy some more time for them. She makes it pretty clear here that she's here to fight. And given that she was the very first Wano citizen we met during this arc, I think it was about time for her to get some more characterization. Especially because I feel like she'll be quite important in the future. I genuinely like her character, and as long as I get Yamato as a Straw Hat, I won't say no to Tama joining as a cabin girl as well. Just some more female power on the boat. And as if Oda read my mind, the next page cuts right to Yamato, who is still tanking a barrage of attacks by the heavily armored squad that Sasaki has brought with him. And I think if we all assume that Tama will be important, what does that tell us about Yamato? That Oda has spent almost every single chapter since her introduction to further develop and introduce a character. It seems like he was really eager to keep her hidden for as long as possible, but then wanted to establish her as fast as possible as well. And so this chapter is no different. I already called for Yamato as a Straw Hat the first time we met her. But the more we see of her, the more I fall in love with her character. Oda has made sure to give her a lot of room for growth, as her naivety and her Oden role-playing suggest that she knows very little of the real world and has probably not had the most fun childhood. Things that the Straw Hats will hopefully help her overcome. But he also gave Yamato this fantastic power and endurance that shows us that this is indeed someone related to a Yonko. The way she tanks these attacks and the way that she takes out Hachi with a single long-ranged attack really has me hyped up for the future. Especially since this is clearly not Yamato going all out. Right here, she's solely focused on protecting Momo and Shinobu from the attacks and shielding them from further harm. However, as Sasaki prepares to step in as well, we can see something that has me very excited indeed. We get a close-up of Yamato's face and see her starting to spread fangs, at which Sasaki immediately seems to get terrified. However, before Yamato can transform, Franky arrives at the scene with Hachan chasing behind him, who smashes a hole in the floor, through which Yamato then can escape with Momo and Shinobu. I absolutely love that Yamato knows all about the Straw Hats and how she entrusts Sasaki to Franky, just as Luffy entrusted Franky with Robin's safety back on Enies Lobby. This girl is just pure Straw Hat material. Plus, she of course also drops this line about Momo being the one who will bring the dawn of the world. But I think we'll have to talk about that one separately. Now, the $1 million question is of course, what power does Yamato actually have? I love the second camera. I'm gonna keep the speculation on this short, because there's really no way of telling right now. But fact is that Yamato has some sort of power. If it's a devil fruit, it's clearly a zone. But if Yamato were also to be a dragon, I think that would make it much more likely that Kaido and her are actually dragons. But she might as well have another ancient or mythical zone. Also, there's still the possibility that her and Kaido are Onis. Plus, I wonder if Kaido truly is her biological father, or whether there was some Vegapunk research involved as well. Now, I personally would prefer it, however, if she actually was Kaido's real daughter. I think that would make both characters a lot more interesting and complex, especially the Yonko. But let me know what you think about this. I think the one thing that we can all agree on is that no matter what Yamato's transformation really is, it will definitely look badass. I really can't wait to see. Now, I also think that it's important not to overlook the matchup between Sasaki and Franky between all this Yamato madness. I think that these two seem to be a fantastic match in a number of ways. Both are very tanky, which would already make for a great fight. But also personality-wise, I think they would fit pretty well as well. Sasaki makes a pretty decent impression, and I think he and Franky might actually be able to bond a little if they clashed. But most importantly, Sasaki has some real resemblance with Kokoro, who was basically part of Franky's family when he was growing up under his fisherman master Tom. If there were to be some sort of relationship there, that would be absolutely fantastic. So I'm really excited to see some action there as well. Also, if Sasaki truly is a fishman, he would most likely be the very first one to have officially eaten a devil fruit, which would be pretty interesting to learn more about. Next, we finally reunite with some of the long-lost characters since we came to Onigashima, Law and Kid. I think this makes the list a little shorter, where we still look for characters like Hiyori, Onimaru, Tenguyama, and all of the remaining Big Mom pirates. Now, as it turns out, Law was nowhere to be seen because he used the commotion of the battle to sneak into the basement of the fortress and look for a poneglyph. And indeed, he has found one. Now, since the chapter is black and white, we really don't see whether this is a road poneglyph or not. And the thing is, the Japanese here is a little bit hard to interpret. But the way I would see it is that this actually is a road poneglyph. In the flashback, Robin suggests that while she's very interested in finding out what the Will of D actually is, Luffy doesn't care, which is why they only focus on road poneglyphs right now. So my personal guess is that Law was hoping to find a regular historical poneglyph with information about the Will of D, but found the rare road poneglyph instead that details the location of Laugh Tale and in which he probably has much less interest. So my conclusion is that this is actually a red road poneglyph, but take it with a grain of salt. We also get a glimpse of Kid and Killer, who are also chasing towards Kaido and are gathering huge amounts of weapons to fight with. And we get a shot of Kaido and the Scabbards, who are still battling fiercely, with Denjiro landing another decent blow on the giant, but Kaido clearly dominating the fight. We see Big Mom passing through the virus-infested hall, also chasing towards Kaido, and I just wonder whether or not she got infected by this and what her next objective is. And finally, we see Luffy, Sanji, and Jinbei still fighting their way closer to the top of the dome. But then, Sanji hears a woman, who is apparently being approached by a man, and immediately his Sanji senses spring to life. Now, I personally would guess that this is probably Black Maria, but we'll see, I guess. One of the phrases that Sanji hears is "Yoi de wa nai ka," which translates roughly to "it's good, isn't it?" And apparently this is some sort of running gag in Japan for when a man unwraps a woman's kimono before she is saved by a hero. So I think we can all imagine what happens next. All in all, what a crazily intense setup chapter. I really can't wait to see where all of this leads next week. So make sure to let me know your thoughts on everything in the comments below. Thanks guys, peace.